The Brooklyn Nets have had a crazy past few years, from having Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all on their squad just over a year ago, with many people thinking they could be a potential dynasty, to all three requesting trades and now being on different teams. The Brooklyn Nets seem to once again be entering a new era as soon as the last one started. And under coach Jacques Vaughn, they now have one of the more intriguing rosters in the league. Not because of how good it is, but because no one knows what to expect from this team moving forward. And in today's video, we will be asking the question, what is next for the Brooklyn Nets? As already stated, the current state of Brooklyn's roster is a bit perplexing and clearly very unfinished. Headlined currently by Mikal Bridges and Nick Claxton, who has had a great season for Brooklyn, being a defensive monster, averaging 13 and 9 as well as 2.5 blocks a night in 54 games played. He's been by far their most consistent player and is definitely a building block for the Brooklyn Nets moving forward. As for Mikal Bridges, he was the premier player acquired in the Kevin Durant package from the Phoenix Suns, as well as those 4 first-round picks from Phoenix. But Bridges is someone who is one of the best 3-and-D wings in the league already, but has some scoring to his game as well, as in just his 3rd game for the Brooklyn Nets, he had 45 and 8 on 17 of 24 shooting versus the Miami Heat, and he is someone who could be an X factor moving forward for the future of this franchise. As for the rest of this roster though, it's hard to determine what quite to make of it. The other players they received from the KD and Kyrie trades were Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie from Dallas, and Cam Johnson as well from Phoenix. Johnson is someone who is entering the prime of his career and is a really good wing shooter from North Carolina in his 4th year. This season, Cam Johnson is averaging 14 and 4 on 46, 42, 79 splits in 20 games played. He did miss some time due to injury, and Johnson is someone who I definitely think is a quality player and may be in that Claxton and Mikal Bridges tier of the definite keepers if he wasn't already about to turn 27 years old and still on his rookie deal. He definitely was drafted old out of North Carolina, but he still is a very good player, and I think he'll stay around for Brooklyn. The other two, it's not as clear. 2 good players as well in Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith. Finney-Smith, a 29-year-old 3-and-D wing. They acquired for Kyrie Irving and apparently turned down 2 first-round picks for him. He is someone you can immediately plug in for Brooklyn, and he can give you some 3-point shooting and good perimeter defense, and in the future, if they do decide to trade him, they could get something solid for him, I definitely think. As for Dinwiddie, who makes his return to Brooklyn, he's a good player who can score, and a guard who can take on a leadership role on a team that has had a lot of moving pieces as of recent and could help them possibly make a push for the playoffs to end this season. And when looking at pieces like Dinwiddie and Finney-Smith, it really shows why this team's situation currently is so interesting, because they can't just flip those guys to contenders because they need to try to be good. You are looking at a team that doesn't have their own first-round pick in 2024 or 2026, as well as the Rockets having the rights to pick swap with them in 3 different years. So essentially, this team can't exactly tank as teams like the Rockets and Thunder have in recent years. They can't just build a bad roster and hope for a high draft pick, because they don't have control over their draft picks for the foreseeable future, which is why a guy like Dinwiddie or Finney-Smith, you can't just flip to a contender. You're going to need those guys in the playoff push, and that is a bright spot for Brooklyn right now. They currently sit 5th in the East with a 34 and 24 record, as well as having many quality players but no stars. 2 big guys we have not talked about yet that have been on the team this whole year are Cam Thomas and Ben Simmons. These 2 guys' games are pretty much polar opposites of each other. As for Simmons, this season, he has been poor on the offensive end, even for his standards, and has struggled to move past his dreadful 2021 playoffs and injury, averaging just 7 a game and shooting 44% from the free throw line. He was obviously a big part of that Harden deal, and he has not lived up to that hype in Brooklyn at all. He's also decreased as a defender, and he's had injury issues still. Thomas is recently coming off an unreal scoring stretch where he scored 40 plus in 3 straight games with KD and Kyrie out, but since both have been traded, he has seen a dip in minutes, and That largely is for his lack of defense and other things he brings to the table besides scoring, but he is someone who is a great scorer, and when he gets hot, he is truly dangerous, and he is a potential real piece for Brooklyn moving forward, but it will be interesting to see if he can ever become a bit more of a complete player. Overall, Brooklyn has compiled a nice assortment of role players and guys who will play hard for Jacque Vaughn. If this group of guys will be able to keep them competitive and in playoff position is one of the more interesting storylines for the second half of the NBA season. But one thing I am confident in is that this team will be a force defensively. Mikal Bridges is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA, and Nick Claxton has been one of the best rim protectors in the NBA this season. These two's counting stats and advanced numbers on the defensive end have both been excellent this season, and Ben Simmons, while he has struggled to return from his injury, has played at an extremely high level defensively at times, as well as having Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith on the squad, who are both very good wing defenders. This team will be scrappy and fun to watch for a franchise that, over the course of 13 months, has gone from having 3 superstars to none. This team could go in a lot of directions this offseason with the assets they have acquired recently, and they are a storyline in the NBA that is flying under the radar, I feel. Could they make another big trade this offseason going after another star? I do think it's possible with the assets they have accumulated from the Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving deals, but really no one knows what the future holds for this Brooklyn Nets team, and it's fascinating. I thank y'all for watching, and peace out. Comment below your thoughts on the Brooklyn Nets and their future after trading Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving.